Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss one of the most beneficial aspects of 2026. As Saturn in Aries gets to 5 degrees and creates a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, also at 5 degrees. This aspect begins on March 27th. It's then exact on March 28th, but it lasts until April 5th as both planets remain at 5 degrees in each sign, and this brings about formidable developments, important intentions, a focus on what you are developing in your life, and a new sense of personal empowerment to make choices that are beautifully aligned for you now. We're going to do more of a deep dive into this aspect because it's always significant when we have two outer planets in a direct aspect to each other. But in this case, Saturn and Pluto have been in an ongoing story that continues to unfold, and this is an important time in the year to make the most of what you are creating, initiating, building, and growing. So before I get into more of the specifics of this aspect, we're going to travel back in time to January 2020, which is when Saturn and Pluto last had an exact conjunction that initiated a new synodic cycle between these two planets. And it takes Saturn about 33 to 38 years to make a conjunction to Pluto. So this is a rare conjunction, and as we have gone into great detail about on this podcast, it was, of course, life-changing. It was one that would alter the course of our reality, our personal lives, our professional lives, and ask us to become more responsible, Saturn, for what we are actively creating and experience in all areas of our life, Capricorn, and to look at what needs to be deconstructed in order to be rebirthed, Pluto. And so, of course, we all know the events that transpired beginning back in early 2020 when Saturn and Pluto were conjunct at 22 and 23 degrees of Capricorn. And so here we are 6 years later, and these two planets are now in a beneficial sextile. And so this means that that conjunction of 6 years ago was meant to break down an old version of consciousness, lifestyle, work, profession, governments, structures, and institutions that radically transformed us, but also was meant to radically transform the status quo on the planet and was essentially a paradigm-breaking development that would lead us into what we're meant to co-create and build next. And now that energy is here. There is strength, determination, and greater clarity around what can be built at this time that I feel also supports new earth values, individual empowerment, authenticity, new levels of personal creation based on what you have learned and come to understand about your personal values. Essentially, this aspect between Saturn and Pluto now is a reconstruction of what is meant to be built and developed that hasn't existed before. And so this will, of course, be different for each person. This will be unique to you. Astrologically, what you want to do is identify in your astrology chart where you have 5 degrees of Aries, because Saturn is there right now. And Saturn is asking you to be clear in your personal boundaries, your self-responsibility, to own what you want because it uniquely aligns with who you are now. This is where you might feel more courageous and accountable. You might understand that you can handle things on your own because that Aries energy is independent, but Saturn brings in responsible actions aligned with independence. There is maturity here that is important to note with Saturn because Saturn wants us to work hard for our rewards, wants us to put in that time, energy, and effort to develop what matters to us without shortcuts. This is a self-directed energy. This supports pioneering endeavors, new plans, new architecture, and clear action that needs to be aligned with integrity, and self-respect. So these are just some of the themes here of the Saturn in Aries at 5 degrees. You would locate that in your chart by house placement, because that house is the area of life where this Saturn wants you to strengthen up your sense of self so that you can walk forward and move forward in a way that accurately represents your current expertise, wisdom, and mastery. Saturn reveals what we have earned through learned experiences. It's where you've been through the school of hard knocks. It's where you had to handle challenges and move through them. It's where you had to keep showing up to move something forward and to get the job done. Saturn is our ability to handle everything in the physical world from a perspective of maturity, responsibility, and honoring our commitments. And here in Aries, you are meant to be making personal choices that you sense are absolutely true for you. They're in alignment with who you are now, what you want next, because the Aries energy is about what's brand new, and it's inviting you into a new experience that is probably even brand new at a soul level. And that's because Saturn just had that conjunction to Neptune in Aries, which signified that we were bringing forward with us more of our spiritual wisdom, emotional depth, intuitive abilities that we are essentially transforming into a new version of the evolved human that beautifully integrates our spiritual growth and more of our multidimensional capabilities that are beyond just the 5 senses. So there's already been that ascension point and elevation point when Saturn and Neptune were conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, signifying a brand new start and something that truthfully we're not going to see it play out right away. There are no quick rewards here. This is not about immediate gratification. Rather, the Saturn in Aries is saying, keep the pace, walk steadily, walk confidently, follow what you are feeling drawn to because it really matters right now, perhaps in ways you can't even imagine yet. So Saturn in Aries at 5 degrees in your chart by house placement is where you are meant to be making something more concrete, solid, and sustainable. Then we move into the energetics of Pluto in Aquarius, newly at 5 degrees of Aquarius. Pluto has not ventured this far into Aquarius yet in the cycle. This is new territory that's opening up, and Pluto is the great transformer. Pluto evolves through the cycle of death and rebirth, through collapse and then rebuilding. Pluto is about where things are meant to change at a deep core level and never return to where they were previously. There's permanent life changes with Pluto. I also want to note that Pluto in Aquarius is moving slower than Pluto did in Capricorn. That's because Pluto has a longer stay in Aquarius. It will be here for 20 years total. That means that Pluto is spending more time at each degree point in Aquarius. And so there is more depth, more perhaps fears, more emotions that arise with a slower moving Pluto. It also means there's more here to dive into and unearth. Pluto is a detective and an investigator, wants you to understand more of what's operating within you, that you're ready to see honestly, face it head on and deal with it in a way that ultimately empowers you. And that empowerment journey is one of very deep personal evolution and growth. So with a Pluto transit, you become the next version of yourself. You face a fear, you understand more about how you operate, and it shifts you into a new level of self-understanding that you had to move through slowly and diligently. So there's great intensity with Pluto, and in Aquarius, Pluto is dismantling outdated societal structures and systems. It's bringing our attention to what no longer serves the collective, even though we have accepted it or relied upon it. This Pluto in Aquarius is going to continue to transform institutions, collective systems, governments, technology, airline travel, engineering, and space tourism, just to name a few areas. Pluto in Aquarius is going to reveal where the masses are meant to be more empowered and connected. But in order to do that, we have to acknowledge what is no longer in alignment and what is no longer working. And so this Pluto in Aquarius is bringing our attention to how we can bring about real change, because that Aquarius energy can be very rebellious, ahead of its time, be misunderstood, seen as bizarre or quirky. It's also the brilliance of Aquarius that connects to a bigger possibility and higher knowledge, and then brings it back into the collective for others to integrate and understand. Aquarius is often ahead of its time, and yet that's one of the best gifts of Aquarius energy, because it allows us to continually expand our consciousness and grow into new understandings that we wouldn't have normally seen or understood. And so here comes this Pluto, now at 5 degrees of Aquarius, revealing more of the systems that need to be dismantled and collapsed. And yet it brings about this awareness through deep psychology, through investigation and research, by looking at what's going on behind the scenes, what is not being openly revealed, what is not being shown. And so this is where Pluto brings about secrets that are revealed, what needs to come to the forefront for the masses to know and understand. This will also involve what is happening behind the scenes with technology, computers, artificial intelligence, digital networks, data centers, the cloud storage system. All of these are going to be undergoing significant changes as Pluto moves through Aquarius. Pluto exposes the corruption and the power imbalance. It can show where the few have control over the many. It can reveal what humanity needs in order to move forward. But then again, it reveals what has to be destroyed in order for something new to emerge. So we have these two planets. So we have both planets, each formidable in its own way, creating a harmonious sextile together, signaling it is time to co-create and build something new that is in direct alignment with your Saturn in Aries initiation, independence, and desire for a new chapter in your life to start. So some ways to put these two together is to see that Saturn in Aries is bringing about responsible new leadership, new models of leadership, new understandings of what it means to be in your sovereign power, to walk with that energy in the world, but then connect it to the communities, systems, and visions of Pluto in Aquarius, so that you're bringing in something better than yourself that supports this practical building. It could be that something you're innovating or desiring actually starts to have a structure and is stabilizing with Saturn in Aries. Maybe you've had some wild visions or things coming through that have excited you and inspired you, and you're wondering, what do I do with this? How do I make this real? Well, the sextile to Saturn in Aries is going to show you a framework for making something practical and sustainable. Saturn cares about the long term. Saturn wants the changes to actually stick. Saturn wants the revolution and the rebellion and the innovation of Pluto in Aquarius to go somewhere. Let's do something with this so that it actually makes a difference. This can also bring about people who are change agents, who are pioneering leaders, who are showing the way in how to work with new energies that are directly related, as I see them, to new earth values that incorporate diversity, authenticity, and individuality at a more loving, compassionate level. This aspect can also bring about the individual power of Saturn and Aries working with collective evolution. And so it fuels collective progress or where we're going in the future. There can be things strengthening at a community level. Keep in mind that when I say community, that can mean any size of groups. I mean, that could be all those who gather and go to a spiritual center or a cultural center together. That could be those that you regularly connect to online. Those could be people that you consider part of your soul tribe, or you know them through other affiliations or professional networks. So there's many ways that we can understand community here, but Saturn is saying, now let's take it forward and make something real. And so there's also going to be an honoring of authentic leadership, especially with individuals who are brave enough to be themselves, brave enough to follow their own path and go their own way. That's a strengthening energy here of this aspect. There's also going to be examples coming forward of how to be more courageous in a way that works for you. Because sometimes courage isn't about doing the huge, big thing. Courage can simply be taking one step forward in a new direction that you've never ventured before. It could be understanding, I'm going to be disciplined in my actions. I'm going to be intentional in what I'm choosing. And that allows you to be more calculated in your risk taking so that you're investing in something that's worthwhile and it's true for you. Honesty is important here. Being truly yourself and loving that is important because Saturn in Aries isn't going to allow anything fake or false to pass through. In fact, there's almost like this new filtering system that Saturn in Aries brings in that allows you to establish boundaries and be more aware of even your own aura, energy system, and personal needs. I'm feeling like this Saturn in Aries is giving us a new sense of this is who I am, this is how I'm showing up, and this is what I'm going to do about it. Because Saturn is about, again, how you get things done in the real world. It's tangible results. It's what's really paying off. And so with this aspect, you might start to see, oh, I should go in this direction. Or, oh, I think this is promising over here because of XYZ lining up and showing me this would be a good path forward. So whatever aligns for you or is coming together, I should say, it's going to be concrete and real. This can be contracts. This can be physical evidence. This can be something tangible in your life that comes about and requires you to perhaps be more responsible, mature, committed, and purposeful. Saturn is your purpose. And I feel that with this aspect, more people are going to start to feel that their purpose is connecting. They have an understanding of where they're going or what's possible because this aspect, the sextile, is harmonious, empowering. It's beautiful. A sextile is like best friends working together, good allies. There's co-creation here that is, I'll bring in the best of me, you bring in the best of you, and look what we're creating together. That's a part of this dynamic. Now, that might mean that there's other people you're working with and connecting with. But with Saturn in Aries, it actually points to there's more that you're meant to do on your own and to have the courage to trust yourself to do so. And this Pluto is supporting you. It's supporting you by helping you move through any fears, any things that are coming up that you're wondering, can I handle this? Can I do this? Is this for me? The sextile is going to give you an understanding that you are strong enough. You can do this work. You can take this on. And the life force that comes through or the energy force that shows up might even surprise you because it could reveal that you actually have much more going for you than you even realized. So I'm feeling like overall, there's people who are going to have some breakthrough understandings in their new pathways. And this can be very encouraging if you've been waiting or felt delayed. This could be an aspect that works with you powerfully. Now, on that note, this aspect is happening for everybody at 5 degrees, right? 5 degrees of Aries, 5 degrees of Aquarius. But if you have planets or points within 2 degrees of these points, it's going to work with you more powerfully. Now, I'm giving it a small orb of 2 degrees because of how slowly Pluto moves and also Saturn moves slowly, but it's not a big orb here because there is a tightness in the energy. So if you have planets or points between 3 to 7 degrees of the fire signs, so 3 to 7 degrees of Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, or you have 3 to 7 degrees of planets in the air signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. This is working with you more personally, and you're probably feeling it. You're sensing it. You're aware that things are happening maybe in the background, and then they will present or come forward, or something is already showing up, and it's going to take more shape and form, which is Saturn, as the energy comes together and as these two planets move you forward. Also, this aspect can help you with breaking free from anything that has personally hindered your independence or courage or sense of self. This is where you could feel strong enough to make a change. You could feel empowered to make a new choice. You could see more accurately, I'm really done with this. I'm really over this, or this experience, this event, this job is no longer for me. And this aspect can show you new levels of personal empowerment around what to choose for your future. Saturn in Aries is going to support your personal backbone, your energetic spine. It's going to help you stand strong in what you declare and what you want. And it's going to allow you to do so from a new authority position where you're going to maybe even feel like you're the authority in your life. Now, of course, this is going to be different for everybody, but if you haven't felt that way, if you felt like you had to hold back who you are or what you wanted in some capacity, this is an aspect that says, no, claim your power, sister. Stand strong in who you are, what you want. Like, this is your life. This is your life. You answer to you. You are in charge of your choices, your direction, your dreams. So let's own it, make it real, make it happen, and you don't hold back or compromise for anyone. No one else is walking your shoes or your path. No one else is in your soul's energy. So own it and allow yourself to feel strong and courageous in what you're doing next. This is where you could even be ready for new downloads in your own authority that are also busting through any layers of fears because that Pluto energy can go really deep. It can take you into these unknown fears that you're realizing you're working through across multiple lifetimes or multiple timelines. And so there could be a sense here that this timeline that you're in is connected to energies much bigger than your present reality. And Saturn is about your present reality and your present timeline. Saturn is saying, this is who you are right here, right now, in this room, in this place. And Pluto is perhaps expanding that and showing you different versions of yourself or different ways you've moved through something that relates to a single theme right now. Okay, so meaning that if there's something you are working through, and it's requiring you to face some big fears, you could be working with those same fears across multiple timelines, lifetimes, and dimensions. And this is going to be empowering because what I'm feeling is that also in those other lifetimes, timelines, and experiences, you're changing the energy in those dimensions too. And that's also how Pluto works. It's like this cross-dimensional soul journey where it's shifting your reality in other places, not just shifting your reality in this timeline. And so as such, you might even sense that your personal identity and boundaries are strengthening, that you're over certain fears, you've moved past certain things that are no longer connected to your current reality. And there's an element here of reclaiming your personal power across multiple lifetimes, and then you feel it in this reality. You could also be activating more of your personal courage and your self-leadership. This would also be a beautiful time to think about building future-oriented communities, simply because that's what Pluto in Aquarius is also asking us to do. It's like, what's next? The next vision, the next interpretation, what are the new communities or the new gatherings that are good for people? What are the new groups and connection points that bring people together? So if you do any work with collective energies or with multiple people, this could be a great time for understanding where are we going next. And so this could also be a beautiful time to do vision work, manifesto work, or planning for the long term and deciding this is probably the kind of leadership we need, or these are the qualities we want to include. All of that is part of the mix here of the Saturn in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this exact sextile only happens once, and then Saturn moves on. When each planet retrogrades later in the year, Pluto will retrograde back to 3 degrees of Aquarius, and Saturn will retrograde back to 7 degrees of Aries. So they won't have this exact matching up by degree point again, which signals it's an important time to be very intentional and aware of what you're directing energy towards and what you're creating, especially in the physical world. Anything related to your work, profession, responsibilities, or purpose are also very important right now. And so the bigger picture of this aspect, how I'm seeing it, is that Saturn in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius at 5 degrees is helping humanity move forward from any phase of powerless anger or frustration to an understanding of what are our choices, what can we do together, or what do I choose to do for myself. It supports individuals who are ready to take more responsibility for their life, their journey, their new life developments, and be the creator of your own experience and existence. And I realize that could sound ridiculous, but this could be a time when many more people realize they want to work for themselves. They want to be an entrepreneur. They want to do something on their own. They're breaking free of anything that has held them back. This is where you're taking charge of your energy. You're not waiting for anyone else to do it or to make choices or to think that they are the ones who know what's best for you. You know what's best for you, and this is meant to be empowered energy that moves you forward. It's also meant to show you what is now possible and what you can move forward into, especially if the past 6 years really rocked you and left you feeling uncertain, unmotivated, uninspired. Hopefully this can bring about some new visions and dreams that lead you forward. I realize everyone is in a different place with these energies, so I'm speaking in broad terms here, but this is a time of empowered creation based on what you want. So don't think you have to hold back or get validation or wait for someone else to join you. This is where that Saturn in Aries is saying, you've got this, you can do this. And so what is it? What are you choosing? What are you working with? And that Pluto in Aquarius wants it to be new. Both of these energies together are dynamic, independent, creative. They're ready to make something interesting and exciting happen. And you could feel that finally there is support for doing so. So again, this aspect happens March 27th until April 5th. We'll feel the energy increasing this week, and then we'll also feel the energy lasting after April 5th when Saturn is still within orb to Pluto. But this is essentially about a month of these energies working together. And I'm saying that using my 2-degree orb. So from the beginning of Aries season until basically the end of Aries season, there's even more messages from the universe to get moving, get started. Trust yourself, move it forward, do the thing, be crazy, be bizarre, take the risk, follow the quantum leap, and this could be exactly what you've been waiting for and lead to even more rewards than you could have imagined. So I hope this gives you some good inspiration to make the most of this unique aspect and to also show you how far you've come since 2020, what you have personally deconstructed and faced over the past 6 years that's related to those plutonic fears. Also showed you where you've stayed the course, stayed strong, kept going, which is part of that Saturn energy. Now is the time to make something real, and I hope, of course, that it has some beautiful manifestations for you. So thank you for joining me for this podcast. I will be back on Wednesday as we discuss the weekly energies, and I'll also be mentioning this in Wednesday's show. There was no podcast last Friday, in case you thought you missed it. I did not do one because I was traveling, but I'll be back this Friday for a podcast. So as always, thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort. It's a joy to connect with you, and I'm wishing you a beautiful journey here as we get started with Aries season. Take good care, and I'll see you back here Wednesday.